Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we're going to be having a look at the rather nifty Postcards from Penguin box set. So this box set here contains 100 postcards that feature classic Penguin book covers from their vast history. And there's some absolutely beautiful and really interesting books in here for us to have a look at. So I'm going to go right through all 100 postcards and we'll highlight some of the real special ones in here. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Right then, so let's have our look at this beautiful Postcards from Penguin box set. So as you can see on the front, it does mimic an original sort of 60s penguin there. 100 book covers in one box. Postcards from Penguin. Complete and unabridged, 3 and 6pence. Looks good on the shelf. Looks like a normal penguin, almost. It does show you the exact contents on the back here, and as you can see there's 100 postcards there. This is a collection of 100 postcards, each featuring a different and iconic penguin book cover. From classics to crime fiction, this is a selection from over 70 years of quintessentially British design in one box. I mean, there is literally nothing that could appeal to me more than the contents of this this box here. Absolutely beautiful. Really, they have gone to town with the design on this. It's just great. So once again, even the color is like an old sort of vintage penguin book here, and it gives a little couple of paragraph history of Penguin books. It says, Penguin books a cover story. He just wanted a decent book to read. So in 1935, Alan Lane stood on a platform at Exeter railway station looking for a good book for the journey to London. I believe he just visited Agatha Christie, in actual fact, in her home in Torquay, and he was at Exeter railway station. His disappointment at the poor range of paperbacks on offer led him to found Penguin Books. The quality paperback had arrived. Declaring that good design is no more expensive than bad, Lane was adamant that his Penguin paperback should cost no more than a packet of cigarettes, but that they should always look distinctive. Ever since then, from their original, now world-famous look, featuring 3 bold horizontal stripes through many different stylish, inventive and iconic cover designs, Penguin's paperback jackets have been constantly evolving part of Britain's culture, and whether they're for classics, crime, reference or prize-winning novels, they still follow Alan Lane's original design mantra. Sometimes you definitely should judge a book by its cover. So there we are. Let's delve in, shall we? So as you can see here, it's got a little sort of a book tassel here to dig your way out. But I shall just ever so gently sort of pour these out, and a very distinctive orange base to it there as well. And as we go through these, I'll pop them back in the box. So, class is a capitalist society. So this is a pelican one. I believe they've all got a similar back, but on the back they do say the year. So this was 1980 with a cover by Jones Thompson. Don't recognise that actual particular one. I don't know if it's a Pelican classic or not. Here's another one. Communications. Raymond Williams. 1982, cover by Carol Ingham. And this one's a real classic, isn't it? This is Catcher in the Rye. Now this is not the first edition. This would have been a Penguin Modern Classics edition. So probably, 1970 would have been when this one was published. So an early sort of Penguin Modern Classics. They started in 1962, and I do have some quite early ones in my collection. This one's from the Penguin Poets. This is Penguin Modern Poets number 2. Kingsley Amis, Don Morez, Peter Porter. Yeah, Penguin Modern Poets number 2, 1970. That was a great series, the Modern Poets. The Divided Self, another Pelican. R.D. Laing. It's 1974, covered by Martin Bassett, that one. Next one's this one. So this is for Penguin science fiction fans. J.D. Ballard, The Drowned World, absolutely iconic. They did a few in this sort of style. This one's dated 1976, a cover by David Pelham. And he did an awful lot of Penguin sci-fi covers. Another pelican. I mean, so many great pelicans. I would question this one, but creativity in industry. David Pelham again, maybe that's why they've included it. It's because it's by that particular artist, but I wouldn't say it's one of his greatest works. A bit of crime here now. So Penguin Perry Mason, Earl Stanley Gardner, The Case of the Careless Kitten. Penguin Perry Mason. Romac Barber, yes, 1962. He was the guy who I believe designed the original format for the covers. Penguin handbook here, the Penguin knitting book. I do like these actually. I don't have quite as many in my collection as I would like of the Penguin handbooks, but the ones I've got I do really like. This was 1957, covered by Heather Strandling. Another Penguin Perry Mason, Case of the Half-Wakened Wife. 1963, Romac Barber again. Romac Marber, not Barber, Romac Marber. Another, this is quite an early Penguin handbook by the look of it. Art of Marriage. Advice on all aspects of marriage given by a well-known doctor and magistrate. Hans Schmoller, 1957. So Hans was famous for his design and typefaces. Another Penguin Perry Mason. That's a surprised they've included 3 in this box when there's so many other great crime covers to include. The Case of the Howling Dog, Earl Stanley Gardner. Romac Marber again, 1963. And I remember when this came out, I was a little bit surprised. That one's actually a bit of an example of that actually, so I'll pull it back out. Is that they could have got a slightly better, see there's a little bit, it's not the greatest of copies that they've used for the postcard. I would have sourced a better copy down. If it was me doing this, I would have got a better copy. Busman's Honeymoon, Dorothy Sayers, a great one here. Romac Marber again, 1963. Simonon, who I really like, Lost Moorings, 1962. Dreadful Summit, Stanley Ellin, I don't know much about that one. Germano Fastiti, another classic book designer, amongst other things, 1964, that one, quite nice. Penguin Perry Mason, The Case of the Dangerous Dowager, quite nice that coming through. Romac Marber again, 1962. I wonder if they have any of the Ed McBain's 87th Precincts. That's a series that I think are fantastic in Penguin crime. Penguin New Biology, Book 1. They did loads of these. These almost came out like magazines. That format was kept for a long time. Yeah, there's no actual 1946, that one. There's no actual designer on that. It was just almost like the house style. Probably recognize this artist. Tiger, Penguin Sci-Fi, Alfred Bester, and this is Alan Aldridge. He was very influential. All his artwork is that sort of style. Very nice. So it always reminded me of Toulouse-Lautrec, the French illustrator. Or were they Belgium? I can't remember now. Scootering, great book. This, I've been trying to pick up a copy of this for ages, and I keep just missing out on it. But it's a really nice one. John Stevens did that jacket, 1962. Bruce Robertson, but great book, that, Scootering. I have got this one. This is a nice King Penguin. It's the Book of Toys. Gwen White, really nice use of the penguin, or is it wind-up penguins? Who can tell? But a really nice cover, that. Gwen White again. So the author also did the cover. Another absolute classic, you could almost say iconic edition of A Clockwork Orange. Penguin have always sort of taken taken the praise for making The Clockwork Orange a big title, but it was originally published in Pan, which people don't particularly remember. This one, 1968, David Pelham, absolutely classic book, and certainly a great jacket. I mean, really, really good. Perhaps one of the best in the box here, to be honest. Another really good one, this actually, and I do have this one, Place du Jour. Another Penguin handbook, illustrated inside by David Gentleman, but and he did do the cover as well. Yeah, I wasn't sure he did the cover as well, but he has, and that's one of those really, really interesting jackets there. And I personally always liked a jacket where there was lots to look at, and that's one of those. Another great one here. This is the Penguin John Lennon. This was the Penguin edition of the 2 books of John Lennon poetry that they published. And they did a photo session for that, so covered by Alan Aldridge. But there's an equally good back cover picture of John Lennon with wearing about 4 pairs of glasses on the back, which is also pretty cool. If I can, I'll try and find a photo of that and pop it in. This is one of those, that brief period where Abraham Games designed some colour covers for Penguin. And this one looks at Flames in the Sky, one of the ones that Abraham Games did himself. He also farmed some out. This was another King Penguin book, a book of scripts. Jan Tuchnoid, 1960. Never know how to pronounce some of these names from these Penguin creators and designers. This is a later edition of Our Man in Havana. Derek Birdsall didn't do a lot on his design there, did he? Let's be honest. But the whole run together do look nice, I have to say. Heine, selected verse. Another one in the Penguin Poets series. Henning Bohiel, 1967. I haven't actually got that one. Another poetry one, W.H. Auden. It's quite an early one, this. Selected by the author. 1958. The Penguin Poetry series are beautiful. They're just as the design classics, the whole range are just fantastic. Let's move that in there a bit. So this is a later one. I do vaguely remember having a lot of the similar uniform roll down editions for this. He became very popular on the back of Tales of the Unexpected, and sort of had a second revival more than anything. And this is Kiss Kiss. This was 1970, that particular one. Sex in Society, another interesting Pelican one, Alex Comfort. Jock Kinnear, 1964. This is a nice edition of Tender is the Night. That looks like Osbert Lancaster. No, John Sewell, 1964. So there I am. My guess was wrong, but really, really nice jacket. That I do love the Penguin Modern Classics in their own right. I think they're fantastic. She Came to Stay, Simone de Beauvoir. Gianetto Coppola, 1966, did that cover. Pelican Shakespeare for As You Like It. This is an American edition, 50 cents. As You Like It, 1950. So yeah, that's unusual. There's an American one. Oh, this is nice, isn't it? So this is the Spines of the Penguin Poetry series. The majority by Stephen Russ, 1963. Just look at that. How amazing are those? And they're just beautiful, aren't they? Really, really good. All those fantastic jackets. Just superb. That's about how many I've got of the later ones like that. That's certainly one I'd like to pick up, but they don't turn up that often. But when they do, they're cheap. So it's just the luck of finding them and building a collection up. This one's by Edna O'Brien, August is a Wicked Month. One of those ones which included quite a bit of text. I don't know if that works or not on Penguins sometimes. 1969. Cover photography by Wingate Payne. There we are. It's still nice, isn't it? Edna O'Brien was a big Penguin author back then. Mary McCarthy, The Company She Keeps. Alan Aldridge again, must be an early one, 1965. That's actually really nice, isn't it? You do see people, by far, the cheapest way to buy this is the whole box set. But I have seen people online selling the postcards individually, which I think is it's a bit of a rip-off, to be honest. Tunnel of Love, Peter de Vere's, 1964. It's another one by Alan Aldridge. This is a King Penguin, popular English art. This one I've got. I'm looking forward to covering my King Penguin soon. Cover by Clark Hutton, 1945. Absolutely superb series, the King Penguins. I love them, but I am missing about maybe 12 for the set now. As soon as I've got those, I'm going to do a couple of videos of the King Penguin collection. Another Iris Murdoch there. A severed head. Doesn't that look like the actress Elizabeth Moss, who was in, well, The West Wing she started in, didn't she? But she's famous for A Handmaid's Tale recently. Doesn't it look like her? Incredible, eh? Charles Raymond, 1963. Yeah. Uncanny. Another early poetry book, Book of English Poetry. Chaucer to Rossetti, 1950, that one. Peter Cheney's Dangerous Curves. It's a nice crime one. It's a 50s one, is it? No, 1949, so just on the cusp. This is one from the 30s, The Complete Angler. Wood engravings by Gertrude Hermes. So 1939, a very early penguin. Pelican, Introduction to Modern Architecture, 1941. Wartime penguin title. Thinking to Some Purpose. Another 1952 Pelican. Sailing, Peter Heaton. See, that's a lovely mint copy of that one. 1949. A penguin classic, Caesar the Conquest of Gaul. 1951, cover by Jan Tuchnoid. Anthony Berkeley, Not to be Taken. It's 1 shilling. 1946, that particular edition. H.E. Bates, Country Life. 1943, nice wartime penguin. Aldous Huxley, Music at Night. 1950. Pelican Books, this is the British Herbs. They did a few series like this. 1949. This is the very first ever Pelican. The Intelligent Woman's Guide to Socialism, Capitalism, Sovietism and Fascism, in 2 volumes by Bernard Shaw. Copy in its dust wrapper there, that one, 1937. First ever Pelican. Tchaikovsky, this is the Penguin Scores series, and they all had beautiful jackets on those. Covered by Jan Tuchnoid again, 1951. Another real classic, The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. This is the first UK edition of this one. Came out as a Penguin original, 1948. Quite sought after, that one, as you'd imagine. Another beautiful book here, Room of One's Own, Virginia Woolf. 1945, that one came out. Quite a thin little volume, but great. The very first Penguin, Ariel. This is the regular blue edition. Edward Young, Penguin #1. Seen that a few times, haven't we? Agatha Christie, Body in the Library. Penguin published a huge chunk of Agatha Christie's. They didn't do them all, but they did an awful lot, maybe about 45 of them. This was 1953. Twice they published 10 in a go, or 10 all at once, to publish 100,000 of each book in one hit, making 1 million books at once. Absolutely fantastic. Explosive, so this one came out during the war, and this is one of those odd ones which is shorter than most penguins, Very difficult to tell on these, but the book has been cut shorter, 1942, and it's a part of a small batch, including sort of Claudius Volume 2, and that is one of them, and there's a couple of other Pelicans that are particularly short. Buildings of England, another fantastic series. This is the Buildings of England for Middlesex, 1951. Great series. Penguin Crime, Horizontal Man, Helen Eustace, 1949. Penguin, Modern Painters, Edward Burra, 1945. Got a few of those. Baldwin is my favourite. England's Green and Pleasant Land, J.W. Robertson Scott, 1947. Old Raymond Bush, he did a few of these in this series. Soft Fruit Growing. They were handbooks and then they were specials and vice versa. 1945. Another Virginia Woolf Pelican, The Common Reader. 1938, quite an early Pelican. The very first classic, Homer's Odyssey. New translation by E.V. Rue. 1946. Engraving by John Overton. Marjorie Allingham, Sweet Danger. 1950. Very early Penguin Poets. In fact, I think it might be the very first Penguin Poets. I think it is this one by Robert Burns. 1946. Hotel Splendide. Ludwig Belmermans. 1948, that's an odd choice, isn't it, for this? Keeping Poultry and Rabbits on Scraps, another one which was a special that became a handbook, 1941. Quite rare, that one. Civilization, Clive Bell, a Pelican title. 1938. Siamese White, Morris Collis. Travel. Can't really pick up the cerise colour on that, can you? It's a shame. 1940. Another absolute classic and hard to find in high grade. In fact, the copy that they've used here is a little bit worn, but classic all the same. It's Brighton Rock by Graham Greene, 1943. Great book if you've never read it. A slightly later play, Oscar Wilde, Penguin Plays. This is 1964, covered by Denise York. Penguin special here, Warfare by Words, Ivor Thompson. Fairly scarce Penguin special, that 1942. Chosen Words, Ivor Brown, 1961. Together, Norman Douglas. Another cerise one, 1945. Still She Wished for Company, quite an early one this, Margaret Irwin. 1937. It's a nice 60s Penguin special, A Common Sense About Smoking. Always a great cover, that one. Covered by Bruce Robertson, 1963. Man and Superman, Bernard Shaw, 1946. Another author who had several released at once, Cakes and Ale, W. Somerset Maugham, 1948. Siren Land, Norman Douglas, 1948 again. A classic of Wuthering Heights, Emily Bronte. First Penguin of that was 1946. Evelyn Waugh, Vile Bodies, another great title, 1938. John Updike's Rabbit Run, great title, that one. And who is the designer? Milton Glaser, 1964. Don't recognise that, but great jacket, isn't it? 1984, George Orwell. Another real classic, obviously. 1960, R.A. Saville Sneeze aircraft recognition. These came out as a Penguin special during the war. Massive seller, heavily reprinted. 1941 for the first edition. Britain in the 60s series. Other England, Geoffrey Morehouse. Cover by Richard Hollis. Mantrap, Sinclair Lewis. It's an early one in its dust wrapper. 1937. Pearls and Men, Lewis Kornitzer, a travel title from 1946. Catherine Mansfield, The Garden Party, 1951. Almost there now. Jim Kirkwood, There Must Be a Pony. Cover design by Alan Aldridge from 1967. Number 1000, Edward Young's One of Our Submarines. A great jacket, that one. And that's from 1954. H.G. Wells's On the Rights of Man, a Penguin special from 1940. My Man Jeeves, a great one, the first ever Penguin P.G. Wodehouse. And that was published in 1936. Yeah, really first ever Penguin Wodehouse. A Flying Dutchman, Anthony Fokker, 1938. Another Evelyn Waugh's Black Mischief, 1951. Ernest Hemingway, another great author, Men Without Women, his short stories. Winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature. I do love Hemingway, absolutely love him. Cover by Edward Young again from 1955. The Lost Girl, D.H. Lawrence, so he was published almost all of his in Penguin. This is 1950. The most famous, of course, being Lady Chatterley's Lover, which led to the trial in 1960. And you've got The Great Gatsby, highly sought after Penguin, F. Scott Fitzgerald. Lots of people love this one, particularly in the Penguin first edition from 1950. And the very last one is another J.G. Ballard sci-fi title, The Drought, with a beautiful jacket by David Pelham. So there we are. So that's the entire box set, and very nice it is too. Now the good news is I've got a puffin one of these, and I've got one on Faber Books, and there is one which I might track down, and that's got some Penguin Modern Classic authors and covers in as well. So that is it for today. If you have enjoyed this video, do please give it a thumbs up. Do please consider subscribing for regular vintage Penguin book content, and I shall look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.